Hi, this is Lane 8492. This is the only true crime story video I'll be doing today. This is another case out of the state of Florida. This is the case of Florida death row inmate Harold Gene Lucas. You see, Harold Gene Lucas, who is now 74, which will be his age at execution, he's been on death row for nearly 50 years for the 1976 murder of his then girlfriend, 16-year-old Jill Piper, in Lee County, Florida. And of course, Lucas was 24 at the time, and Jill Piper was 16. This crime was done at Jill Piper's house in Bonita Springs in Lee County, Florida. If carried out, this will be the first execution carried out of a prisoner in Lee County, Florida in over 40 years. Last time a person was executed for murder for a crime in Lee County, Florida was in 1984, when Arthur Frederick Good III was put to death in the electric chair in 1984. Of course, I did a true crime video on him about a year or two ago, and he was the most hated inmate on death row. Apparently, Jill Piper must have broken up with Harold Gene Lucas, and he was making threats at her and showed up to her house in Bonita Springs. He also tried with a rifle, is what he showed up with. And he began shooting, and as a result, Harold Gene Lucas began shooting at 16-year-old Jill Piper and her friends. Piper was hit by the gunfire, but the wounded 16-year-old was able to make it back inside the house, but detectives said Lucas followed her and shot her several more times, and that's probably how she died. Her friends managed to make it inside the home and called 911 while hiding in a bedroom. And of course, this would lead to the arrest of Harold Gene Lucas. And he went on trial in the Lee County, Florida courthouse for the murder of 16-year-old Jill Piper. And in February of 1977, Harold Gene Lucas was found guilty and sentenced to death, back when Florida was still using the electric chair. So he's been on death row for 49 years and lived on borrowed time for 50 years. That's quite a long time. Just like earlier this year in Florida, they executed James Ernest Hitchcock 50 years after his crime. And last year in Mississippi, they executed Richard Gerald Jordan, who spent 49 years on death row in Mississippi before he was finally executed. What? Well, this is Lane 8492. Hope you enjoy this video and let me know what you think. Thanks.